lane now for Team Immunity.
Yeah, he's definitely subbed in for at least today. You know, we've heard murmurs about JK Smithy, but the captain, the previous shot caller, not in the lineup. Ryu comes into the team.
Yeah.
A lot about this player. There's a lot of talk in SoQ about his ability. We don't know much about him, but we're ready to see something different. Of course, it opens up the top lane champ pool, you'd have to think.
Yeah.
It's maybe not just going to be, you know, that tank role player with a bit of rumble thrown in. It could be something totally different from Ryu.
Yeah, we'll see whether he brings that poppy top into the OPL. I'm looking forward to it. Rek'Sai Xerath going to be banned away from the Chiefs here, though. Xerath aimed at Cheese, an intelligent ban there. He has picked up one of his victories on that champion, and Cheese, very much a comfort player, but Kalista being banned away from Radier here.
Yeah, I mean, Kalista, we've actually seen it twice, I believe, so far. 2 victories. Of course, 8 victories, so 2 victories makes sense. The big champion not banned here. Actually, the first respect ban comes through the LeBlanc. Interestingly, Chiefs 3 bans against Immunity. No Swain ban. And of course, Swain, 100% victory so far from Immunity. The MVP's rolling in that champion. And the Chiefs, they're putting out a gambit. They're, at least at this point, you know, they do have first pick. There's a potential to steal it away, but Swain first pick, probably not going to see that.
Yeah, Swain first pick is a difficult thing, especially when it's not Cheese first picking it. But Sion is going to be the final ban. The respect for the immortal swiper in the top lane. And he's just going to insta-lock his Maokai. That's going to be his 3rd game in a row on the tree.
That's the closest he can get to Sion, right?
Yeah.
He wants to be unkillable. He wants to be a frontline for his team. Lock in the tree, and it'll all work out, whether it's lane swap, whether it's 1v1. Maokai is always competitive. He used to be a flex pick. Let's be real. It's going to be top Maokai coming through. And one thing we haven't mentioned, Atlas, of course, we are jumping patches. We're on 5.4 today. So many little changes in this patch. We'll have to see how the champ select develops, but, you know, the team's been practicing this patch for about a week now. But something different and competitive.
Yeah, and the thing that I've noticed is that there is a certain Riftwalker no longer in the picks or the bans thus far. Of course, that Riftwalker taking a massive hit, so Kassadin may not be seeing play today, which I'm happy about, because to be perfectly honest, I mean, Kassadin's just ridiculous.
He's been around for so long. You know, he was taken down with that rework, and we thought, all right, Kassadin off the ban list, and he came straight back up, even as a flex pick. He even got flexible. He even made champ selects that much more difficult to navigate, because like, oh god, we don't even know where this Kassadin's
where's he going?
At least for now, he's probably not going on to the Rift. He's on holiday for at least a patch. There is rumors that we're going to see some buffs.
I get it.
So maybe he'll come back one day, but Rift walking straight off the Rift this time.
Yeah, he's definitely made a bit of leave, but of course he's been sitting on the bench or in games for so long. The guy must be tired. As the Chiefs looking to answer this Corki Morgana potential bottom lane. Of course, Morgana been a flex pick for quite some time now. Has been in the top lane, in the mid lane. Wouldn't be surprised to see her in the jungle. Of course, actually her passive works quite well in the jungle.
I believe it's been done before. There is some potential in it, but
She's just everywhere.
We're going to commit to her. Probably not going to be in the jungle this time. Probably not the ranged carry Morgana, even though it has, you know, that ability to be CC reduction. So yeah, it's probably going to be the Corki Morgana bot lane. Corki especially, we all know about the Trinity Force rotations. Neither the item nor the champion seen a hit. So definitely one of the strongest champions on this patch 5.4. Very, very strong. Does the same thing and does it so reliably. So lock it in early and be happy.
Yeah, and it's a little bit unfortunate because T-Gun hasn't really had the best time so far on this Morgana. He's suffered 2 defeats on that champion, not necessarily his highest sort of strength champion as far as the results are concerned, but of course sometimes you just have to give it another go. Janna and Vi are going to be locked in though, so there is so much lockdown from the Chiefs, and now with some disengage as well, but not a whole lot of damage thus far. We'll see whether Spooks builds a Trinity Force or something like that.
There is the potential. Carbon, of course, has been, who we'll see later on the Rift today, really picking up the damage on those carry junglers, like the Rek'Sai in particular. Again,
and the farm too, a little bit.
The farm. We'll get to that point later. He's been racking up the CS values, but the more important point I'll say here is that top Morgana, I think, has to be regarded, just because, again, Ryu is a different player. It's not going to be JK Smithy. Morgana definitely not a JK Smithy champion in the top lane, but certainly with this roster change, anything's possible.
Yeah, Zahi is going to be looking at his Lee Sin here, and I'm actually surprised that Spooks has locked away that Vi. Of course, Spooks only played 3 champions thus far. He's 4-0 on the Lee Sin. That would have been a pick that he'd very much like, but it is going to be Ryu opting for the Rumble here in the top lane, and Zahi is going to get his very comfortable Lee Sin.
Yeah, I mean, moving away from those streaky champions that he had so much success with, the 4-0, as you mentioned, half the games, all victories, you'd think he'd just lock it away, but Spooks likes to throw some curveballs. He definitely goes through weeks where he's like, I'm feeling the Vi, smash and solo queue with it, why not pick it up in competitive? Of course, it's very, very viable, and we're not going to see
that
too
was
much.
Beautiful.
Just
She's probably the most viable pick in the game.
Let's keep going. No, please. No. I realize what I did now. It wasn't on purpose. I promise.
Okay.
But remember, 5.4, we're not probably going to see so much jungle diversity this match. Nidalee, Rek'Sai, Jarvan, the Vi. Probably going to see a lot of those big power picks come through, and the Vi's the one locked in.
Yeah, I find it interesting that sort of only the Rek'Sai was what was on that ban list as well, because a lot of these champion selects we've seen dominated by a lot of these junglers, but Radiant going to go back to the Jinx, and Swiffer going to try his hand at the cursed Orianna in the mid lane.
This is something totally different from Swiffer. We've seen so much assassin play, specifically the LeBlanc and Ahri have been his calling cards. That's what's gotten all the MVP. So for him to go to Orianna is a real surprise to me. I actually talked to Swiffer during the week, and he was like, I really want Orianna to come back. That was something that he told me. And look, he's bringing it out in competitive. It can't really take the game by the scruff of the neck in the mid game. It's more a 2-item power. So it's not just Athenes. You don't have a lot of damage. Of course, with a Wombo, you can get anything done with the Shockwave. But it's when the Death Cap comes through, the utility scaling comes through, and the burst is kind of balanced, Orianna comes through. But given they're so focused around the early to mid game, the Spook, Swiffer, synergy, the rotations, the dragon fights, the Orianna, it does open up windows for Immunity. And you can see Immunity didn't expect this. They're taking a long time to lock in, and eventually they go with that Ezreal.
Yeah, Uberbro actually going back to an old comfort pick here, and I like it. Has that arcane shift in order to get out of the way of the gigantic tree coming at him.
It's not going to be Uberbro.
Oh. Wait, what? Wait,
Okay. Do you need an adult? Are you all right
I think I do. I don't know where I am.
This is going to be cheese on the mid Ezreal, because we've seen plenty of mid Ezreal play out of
not
Faker.
A cheese champion. This does not look like Swain.
No, it's definitely not Swain.
Yeah, I think that's Ezreal.
It's definitely Ezreal. It's something different from cheese. He's looked so good on the comfort that we have to kind of wonder how this is going to go. But I like the pick. Of course, it gives them so much poke. I mean, Ezreal in lane is so safe. You know, in the mid lane, now with the casted nerfs, the 475 range, I believe it is, Arcane Shift is actually bigger than Riftwalk is. So he has like probably the most reliable mid lane escape out of any champion. So very safe.
That's a good point.
Against Orianna, who, of course, you know, it has the shields, is a reliable laner, can clear from range. But, you know, if Lee Sin gets in there, specifically with the kick, there is kill potential on that Orianna.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult to get any damage on this Ezreal, as you mentioned, with that Arcane Shift. And if he builds Lucidity Boots and, of course, the Iceborne Gauntlet, he's going to have a whole bunch of cooldown reduction. He's just going to be dancing across this rift.
I have to, again, it's something very different with the Orianna. But we do have a Twitter vote that I think we need to talk about.
Yeah, of course. Let's have a look at who's going to win this one, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, if you think that the Chiefs are going to win, CHF win. With that hashtag at the front, of course. And if you think Immunity are going to win this one, hashtag IamWin, and let us know exactly what your thoughts are. And don't follow the herd into the 9-0. I want to see those Immunity fans come out as well, because, of course, they have an opportunity here. They managed to take a game off the Chiefs at EB Expo. There is hope, but we'll see whether the Chiefs can make it that 9-0.
And with this wave clear mid choice, I think this is a real opportunity for Immunity to pick up a game, because it's not going to be the early game strangle. It's not going to be Swiffer and Spooks roaming around the map, getting picks, invading the enemy jungle. It's going to be a lot more passive. That's what Orianna is. It's a lot like Anivia. It's a lot of passive laning, and then so much utility and strength in team fights later in the game. But you're kind of committing to that the game will go long. Yeah. And that's not something that that Chiefs have done. And it gives Immunity some power windows. You know, when this double AD gets going, they've got the disengage potential with the Morgana, even the teamfight insurance, the Rumble. I do like some of the things they're doing with their comp. And Chiefs, they have slightly less strategic options than they usually do, because they've kind of pigeonholed themselves with the Orianna.
Yeah, and it's just a really scary thing to pick this Orianna just in general at the moment in the OPL.
Of course, as well.
Yeah. Because, you know, Chenny Boy, the sort of Orianna star, hasn't found success. Moya, who looked fantastic in the OCS.
I believe at the moment, Orianna is completely 0% win rate.
0% win rate.
And that's, you know, that's over 5 weeks of games. That's a significant statistic. That just people have been picking the Aries of the world, the pick champions of the world, and just kind of taking the game away from Orianna.
That's very strange as well, because Ahri was available, I believe.
I'm not 100% sure. I don't recall picks and bans, but especially if it was available, that'd be a surprise to me, just again, with the pick power.
It was the LeBlanc that was banned away from Swiffer, so not actually focusing on that Ahri.
And look, Ahri's been... And the other thing about Ahri is that when we look at those games, it's not like the shockwaves have been whiffing. You've been looking at the gold values. It's been Orianna's 1-2 items below their opponents. Just, you know, being able to keep up in CS, but it's not getting those kill involvements. Well, of course, we'll all remember Moya playing that Orianna for Fauna against Legacy and being picked off by the Syndra. It's not quite the Syndra here. We don't necessarily have
Yeah.
the solo kill potential coming out from Ezreal. Of course, in the early laning phase, it's possible. Ezreal's early laning phase is so strong. I would say for one item champions, i.e. starting with the Dorans, Ezreal's probably the strongest laning champion because he can push the wave, he can right-click to auto-attack and balance that with the Q to push. And until his first shop, he buys tier, and of course that kind of slows him down. He doesn't have the wave clear to match a lot of other laners. Once Orianna gets a few levels in either Q or W, she can insta-clear waves, not an option for Ezreal outside his ultimate. But in the early laning phase in particular, you can boss around your enemy. You got the long range, you got the poke from range. Ezreal's very strong in the early laning, and I'm looking for Zahi to kind of use that advantage, know that Orianna's going to be playing on the back foot, and just try and be really aggressive around mid lane.
Yeah, and there's the fact that, it's going to be difficult for Spooks to gank that lane as well, just because Arcane Shift makes Ezreal so safe in that lane, and Vi relies so heavily on landing that Vault Breaker, and we'll just see whether Cheese can capitalize.
And look, Vi in general doesn't offer a lot before 6. She has some damage ganks. If there's setup CC, the Vault Breaker can do work. But, it's flashable. It's not that reliable against an Ezreal, with effectively 2 blinks. Two abilities that negate. Of course, Ezreal versus Blitzcrank, famously, you remember. You can negate so many spells with that Arcane Shift. The flash as well. I expect Cheese. I want to see Cheese playing very aggressively in this lane.
Yeah.
Auto-attacking the Orianna, punishing her before she gets a lot of wave clear. Because you don't have to respect that vibe from the jungle if you're Ezreal.
Yeah, and do you think that maybe this Orianna was picked to stop Cheese from picking a Swain? How do you think the Swain-Orianna matchup would have gone had that got through?
I mean, it sounds painful, but I don't think it's unmanageable.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing.
Maybe the read was Morgana mid, where you can kind of play whatever you want, so match wave clear with wave clear. Maybe it's just a bad read, but look, Orianna, very strong against wave clear champions, very strong against assassins, so it's a very safe blind pick to a degree. But it doesn't take the game by the horns. It's not 15 minutes, Orianna's going to show up with a big item and change a game. Of course, DFG champions back in the day were perhaps the best users of this, but just an Ahri, for example, can balance damage with pick power with the cooldown reduction so well. Ahri with Morellonomicon is a lot scarier than Orianna with Morellonomicon. And that's probably going to be the first buy. It's going to be the 20% CDR. It's only till the AP starts scaling for both the shield and the damage, the utility scaling comes through, that Orianna really shines as a mid laner.
Yeah, but speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop onto the Rift with Chiefs versus Immunity for our first match of the day. And we'll see whether Cheese can, show us what he's made of on this Ezreal for the first time that we've seen it.
Again, I expect very aggressive play coming out from Ezreal. He has the summoner heal, so at least he has a defensive option if there's a very strong gank. Defensive fans to start the game. Chiefs, they want that 9-0, but Immunity, especially with the champion set we just saw, I feel like they've got a real chance in this game.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of power in this early game here as well, especially around that level 6 Rumble mark. And Ryu throwing a curveball here. He's actually gone with boots.
Kind of boots 3-pot start. That's very interesting to me. Sometimes we see the Doran Shield come out. I believe one of the biggest buyers of the Doran Shield was actually the person he's replaced. J.K. Smithy loved to pick up that Doran Shield. It doesn't offer a lot against Maokai. Even though he has quite high base auto attack damage, you're often going to take harass from AoE spells like the Q and the E, so the Arcane Smash and the Sapling. In this case, maybe it's just a point of not really respecting the 1v1 against Maokai and maybe not expecting a lane swap. A lane swap suddenly spending 325 gold on the movement speed, not combat stats. That's somewhere you can punish the Rumble.
Yeah, well, it's true, but it looks like the Chiefs are hanging around here on this bottom side as well as Immunity, so lane swap not going to be coming through. Of course, both sides seeing each other, knowing the whereabouts of their lane opponents, but Rio just going to be up against Swiper here, who's making his way towards that top side.
It's a very standard jungle start. So nobody going to pick up any experience. It's definitely going to be 2v2 bot, though Corki has entered lane very fast. He will likely be the first person to hit level 6 because he's got some... No, he actually hasn't got any experience yet. No minions have died yet, so no experience advantages in the bot lane just yet.
Yeah, and how does this lane work out here? Jinx versus Corki. Of course, Jinx will have the range advantage, but is Corki's poke going to work?
I think in this case, it's very hard for Radiant with kind of the short range when you're in minigun form to avoid the Phosphorus Bomb trades. Corki, when he's hitting Phosphorus Bomb autos, is going to win most trades. He's just such a strong trader with that ability. So it's not the Sivir where, for example, you can negate the Phosphorus Bomb damage. With the medium to low range and the instant trades coming through from Corki, I feel like Corki should win this lane, especially early. But Jinx, I mean, the thing I always come back to is once she picks up that BF sword, it gives us so many options with the AoE damage coming through from the rockets that I think this lane could start to turn towards Radia and the Chiefs.
Yeah, and already Uberbro's taken a whole bunch of poke damage. Rosie just hanging out, putting shields on top of Radia's head. The Jan away. Just wants to sit in a brush and press that shield button.
It has ended up being the Morgana bot. You already mentioned it hasn't been a lot of success coming through from T-Gun on that champion. He's very used to the hook champion, so of course the Dark Binding, similar kind of missile speed, similar kind of flavor. Of course, you hit that Dark Binding 3-second route, it's going to have a big impact in fights, and he's going to have a target on Radia's head the whole game.
Yep, Swiper might be getting some attention here on the top side. Zahi's quite low, though, as Swiper comes down to chuck a ward into that brush. Doesn't actually do it. Sonic Wave lands. Zahi takes an Arcane Smash to the head and actually needs to worry here because Swiper's coming in at him. My goodness, Spooks is up here, though, looking to try and help out. Rio's going to silence himself, get a fair bit of damage down. Vault Breakers to come in. Very early flash, but a necessary one from Rio, and they're going to save.
The confidence of Swiper to play so aggressively, relying on his jungler to close the distance and come up. If we did see an aggressive move onto him, excellent play coming through from Swiper. You can see the experience in the bot lane.
Yeah, Vault Breaker actually doesn't find its mark here as Swiper going to start tanking up that turret a little bit early. Uncharacteristic mistake here from Spooks, but they're not going to pay for it too much.
That was definitely almost a welcome to competitive play coming on to Ryu. Welcome to membership of the OPL. They're going to go for the dive again.
There it is. There's the Twisted Advance for the insurance, and first blood for Spooks. Beautiful juggling of the tower. Although Spooks did have to flash, but first blood pretty easy there in the top lane.
I'll rely on you and say maybe he had to flash. I wasn't 100% sure he was going to be able to walk very close to the edge, but just not taking a risk. No need to, Vi. She's got a pre-6 gank off. She's kind of snowballed in what we'd expect. You know, she's probably feeling better than expected with that early first blood. Can go back, picks up the Ranger's Trailblazer. Of course, it now costs gold to switch between those jungle enchants, so more likely that both these junglers are kind of locked in their early enchant, focusing on farming from both of them.
Yeah, Swiffer actually holding onto his mana very well here in the mid lane. And she's still copying some harass, but has been throwing out Mystic shots left, right, and center.
Again, I like the fact that Cheese is not respecting Spooks. I mean, now that he's sitting with his flash down, you can almost doubly do that. But in this Ezreal vs Orianna matchup, in Ezreal in a short lane, play aggressively, try and deny the CS to Swiffer under turret. He hasn't really built up the lead that I might have expected. He's even in CS with Orianna, so Swiffer's done very good at last hitting. But
well, under that tower, that was one of the most beautiful last hitting demonstrations I have ever seen in my life. It was just a joy to watch.
Just record a video for the fans for later.
I want
a tutorial.
We'll hopefully get a cam of just Swiffer and just watch him farm this whole game.
The hand cam, just to see the APM when he's hitting those last hits under turret.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful to watch. Radiant doing some nice farming himself there, picking up a creep with the zap.
So I kind of worry for immunity here because, again, Corki versus Morgana is a good matchup against the Jinx Janna. And he's actually 14 CS down as Uber. It's showing a lot of respect to Radiant. These two have fought so often in lane. Veterans of the scene, Uber and Radiant. Showing a lot of respect to Radiant, even in a favorable matchup. So definitely behind in CS. And in the mid lane, we already just complimented multiple times. So CS, but Zahi's going in the butt.
Yeah, he's coming in. The Flame Chompers are there to try and zone him out. But Dark Binding lands. Oh my goodness, True Shot Barrage finds Rosie here as well as Radiant gets exhausted on the bottom side. But here's Spooks just punches Zahi in the head. And they might be able to follow up with something. Zap doesn't land as Uberbro is very low on mana. Beautiful Dark Binding onto Spooks to stop the assault. But Vault Breaker's there. Denting blows as Spooks trying to go so deep. If he had flash, he probably would have flashed on him then.
He's used the first blood on the extra double long, so doing so much damage in the trades. It might have been first blood if Cheese's Hail Mary True Shot Barrage connected. It didn't. And
it didn't find Rosie. Oh, goodness.
And the answering rotation, 2-0 is Spooks. So snowballed already on this Vi.
Yeah, and he's coming in with Vi for the first time, making it look like his comfort pick here as well as T-Gun's just trying to be a nuisance around this dragon, but the Chiefs, they're easily going to take that one down. Spook's just going to Vault Break his way over the wall, and Zahi here just a little bit late, but may have found Radiant here as well. Rosie doesn't have the shield. And that is going to be the pickup on the AD carry here as well. But they got the dragon, and that's the main thing.
Tells you just how short death timers are at this point. Zahi died, of course, face-checking the brush against the Vi. Gave Spooks the 2-0, but showed up just in time to pick the answering kill. He'll feel a bit better, but losing that dragon with the Corki Morgana bottom lane, with the Ezreal versus Orianna matchups that we've already talked about, that is definitely a bonus neutral coming out for the Chiefs, and they're definitely ahead given the team comps at this point in the game.
Yeah, Swiffer just going to pick up this farm here that he's organized so beautifully. I'm not going to talk about it too much, ladies and gentlemen, but that was just wonderful to watch as well as he comes back with a tier and a sheen here as well on the side of Cheese. And I don't know what that longsword's going to do. Of course, doesn't build into that Mura mana just yet, or Manamune as it would come in first. But we'll see whether he's going to go for that Trinity first.
Probably going to be the pickup, but the significant thing for Cheese is that with that back timing at 8 minutes, he's not just buying, say, a tier and a pickaxe. He's not just committing to working towards the Mura mana. He's kind of splitting hairs and saying, all right, I'm definitely going to have a worse first buy than you. Of course, working towards a Merolinomicon, 20% CDR, AP and mana regen, an excellent buy for Oriana, whereas the tier is that 700 gold building towards what will eventually be the poke Mura mana coming later in the game. But the Sheen at least ensures that his trades are better. His ability to push the wave is a bit stronger, of course, with the passive applying. So at least he has some wave control. But in the top, we're seeing a lot of trades between this Ryu and Swiper.
Yeah, actually, Swiper managed to get out that equalizer, but he's still so healthy as Ryu just takes so much aggression. Swiper is just so aggro on this tanky tree. I mean, he's supposed to be this big, immovable tank, doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but Swiper's not making him look like that.
And with Spooks, he's already coming. He's spotted by a ward, but I don't know if that's going to be able to stop the aggression coming through from the Chiefs.
Yeah, it could be the dive up here in the top lane. Assault and Battery is available as Spooks has a minion wave there as well. Twisted Advance just Volt breaks him. Doesn't need the ultimate as Swiper's more than happy to tank up this turret, and it looks too easy here for the Chiefs.
Zahi had the information with the ward. He wanted to rotate. We might actually see a turret dive coming through.
There's the Assault and Battery here as well. Swiper lines up the CC. Swiffer wonders why they didn't wait for him, and Spook's just going to tank up this turret, but another turret time. It seems like the Chiefs, they just want to pick up their kills under turrets.
Yeah, Zahi's just not respecting all the bursts coming through. When he saw Assault and Battery wasn't using that trade, you have to respect the instant double gap close coming out of Maokai and Vi. So much skirmish damage, so overtuned in damage with the Warrior already completed before that trade. 4-0-0, 100% of the kills to Spooks.
Yeah, may not be Swiffer's day this time. It could be the Spooks MVP. But let's not speak too soon, ladies and gentlemen, as there's only a 2,000 gold gap. The Chiefs are ahead most definitely, but we'll see whether Immunity can turn it around. Of course, their comp going to hit some power spikes coming up relatively soon with Corki building towards that Trinity Force. Has gone with the Sheen first, so wanted to max out on that poke damage, and it made sense. We saw that Dark Binding hit in the bottom lane, and the Phosphorus Bomb auto attack did a lot of chunking onto Radier here.
I mean, you really want to start with the Phage if you can afford it, just because it gives you that 10 movement speed on auto attack, especially when you last hit a minion, it gives you a bit more movement speed. The significant factor there is that you hit an auto attack, you move faster towards Radier, then you can position your Phosphorus Bomb just that much better. It's so smooth when you have the Phage trading with Corki. Of course, the burst damage trades that are possible with this Sheen, you know, maybe actually just looking at the range of the matchup and just trusting that he's able to hit the Phosphorus Bomb, he'll be doing more damage, but again, less health, less attack damage, more relying on those poke trades will be the Corki.
And you can see the Chiefs just playing so carefully here as well, really respecting the 1-2 punch to possibly come through from this Morgana-Corki combination and not wanting to make any overly aggressive moves. Of course, Spooks, he was waiting around, but Radiant, he doesn't mind. He just wants to farm, get to that late game stage.
I think Spooks might have been spotted up by a smart ward they had around the cove. Of course, with the pink, they have exclusive vision of the brush there, but there was a smart scouting ward coming through from T-Gun. Long-time support, able to get around those pink wards. We see the trades continue in bot, and in the mid lane, Swiffer, he's keeping up in CS, and that's really all he has to do against this Ezreal.
Yeah, this has become sort of an agriculturalist lane here in the mid lane. They're just farming it out, farming it out.
Not quite CS records coming down. They don't quite have, you know, over 10 per minute, but doesn't seem like too much trade damage coming through either.
No. We'll keep up with it. We'll see whether they can get towards that 10 CS a minute mark. And it's going to be happening pretty soon.
Look at this, Spooks. The ability to have that second massive completed, of course, so...
oh my goodness, here's the flash Soul Shackles though as Radiant forced to flash away from T-Gun. The teleport to come in, Zap lands onto T-Gun here as well as Howling Gale. Super Mega Death Rocket as Radiant comes in. Spook steals the kill. 100% of the kill still here as Radiant finally picks one up that isn't from Spooks.
Yeah, T-Gun was the one that aggressive initiated, used all his summoners and the Soul Shackles.
Oh my goodness, everyone's here. Welcome, Swiffer, to the bottom lane. This is where everyone dies.
Remember, Atlas, Immunity engaged that trade with the Flash Soul Shackles and still are completely out-rotated by the Chiefs. Ezreal stays in mid. We're going to see a replay coming through. Flash Soul Shackles, that's what starts this fight. That is an aggressive call by Immunity, but they've been answered so well. When you have the teleports coming through, Maokai can do so much more in this situation with the lockdown CC. Spooks comes out just at the right time. I thought he might even pick up the 6-0, but can't quite manage it. But to engage that fight with the Flash Soul Shackles and then get out-rotated, communication is off for Immunity in this game.
Yeah, a little bit, of course. Dragon is going to be up in another 3 seconds here as well. All of Immunity are heading there. They're going to get there very, very soon here as well, as the Chiefs still a little way away, but I don't think they're going to be able to burn it down quite hard enough, as Cheese on Ezreal has managed to pick up the mid lane turret, so a little bit of global gold going into the back pockets of Immunity, but they are actually going to be able to possibly pick this one up. It is stolen away by Uberbro of all people, as Zahi makes his way to the back of that Dragon pick, able to safeguard his way over, and Immunity successfully disengage after that first Dragon.
A very high-risk attempt at finishing the Dragon does pay off, but the Chiefs, you look at the item builds that come through. Infinity Edge already completed at 13 minutes. He doesn't need boots when he has that item. There was no way that Immunity could have won an extended fight, so credit to Chiefs. Just go rotate to the mid and understand their power spike, pick up that outer turret.
Yeah, they did. The Chiefs just wanted to make sure that they were definitely going to get some form of objective.
Oh, they're going to get
plenty
of objectives.
Yeah, well, this is true. They are going to be able to steal away that blue buff here as well. Swiffer handily picks that one up as, yeah, Jinx just doing so much damage to these turrets. Of course, that minigun, just ridiculous. The stacking attack speed that you get from maxing that Q. I mean, really, really crazy.
Just to point out how much of a steal that was from Immunity and how their assertive move has pulled out for them, you look at the champions they have, Rumble, Corki, 2 champions we always focus on for their early game Dragon control. We always say don't fight against the Equalizer, but look at, they're actually in power troughs compared to their opponents. Swiper is already massive. He has the Catalyst. He's been leaving the Catalyst so often. He hasn't been rushing either the Rod of Ages or the Righteous Glory. Has been kind of going for other items. He has cost-effective cooldown reduction, armor, and magic resist. You look at Spooks and you're like, my goodness, he's so overtuned. He had the Hex Drinker already. Adding on a Giant's Belt now. He is massive. He spent the gold very efficiently with very efficient item purchases across the board. But you look at, I mean, the Radia power spike compared to the Corki is massive. Infinity Edge against just the parts of a Trinity Force. Chiefs are massively ahead. So to lose out on that structure, even with the champion picks from Immunity, it was stolen away for sure.
Yeah, and somehow as well, I mean, after Swiffer roamed down to that bottom lane, did manage to pick up the help with the kill. Dark Binding not going to find its target here as Swiper spots 2 members and then goes towards them. He's been doing this quite a lot. It is ridiculous.
He might have to pay for it here, though. Zahi's coming in as well.
Yeah, 3 might be a few too many as he pops the ultimate. Spooks, oh, that Dark Binding was fantastic from T-Gun. True Shot Barrage is going to find Swiper, but Spooks just more than happy to go aggressive. There's the Shockwave! Ridiculous as Ryu forced to flash away. Finally, the shutdown comes through for Spooks as Swiffer's going to have to get out as Cheese. He's made his way around, has his Trinity Force, flashes over, and the flash in response from Swiffer here as well. That Dissonance going to be able to speed him up easily enough to get out of here as Uberbro, he might be caught. Oh, Flame Tromper's not going to quite find it. As Radia tries to get some damage down on this turret, but Uberbro, nice defense. Causes not too much damage to come down to that turret.
Yeah, but the Chiefs get a 1-for-1 despite Immunity rotating 4 members.
Yeah.
Cheese was the 4th member. He does have the significant power fight. This Trinity Force is a massive pick. Of course, it'll delay his Muramana transformation because he doesn't have the Mana Moon completed early. But that Trinity Force damage was doing big damage in that fight. He gets the shutdown as well. Huge experience and gold coming to Cheese. You know, he's the MVP in 4 out of 4 games. He's going to need to be it again to kind of drag his team to any sort of a parity with the Chiefs because they're 5,000 gold ahead already.
Yeah, and so far, I mean, this farming display from Swiffer has been amazing in the mid lane and a lot different from the other Orianas we've seen. A lot of Orianas have been focused in the early game, and just because she's not quite as mobile as Swiper, again going to get some attention. She's landing all of the skill shots onto this Maokai, but he's pretty tanky. True Shot Barrage gets dodged, but it doesn't matter as Cheese able to pick up his second kill for the game.
And Cheese definitely buckled up his carry pants. He knows that he needs to be the one putting out all the map pressure. His jungler, Zahi, that's the one, you know, when you talk about the Orianas, it's been the junglers that kind of been camping those Orianas, taking advantage of their relative immovability in the mid lane. But Zahi, he's been answered every turn by Spooks. It's been one of those situations where when you watch those Samsung White games back in the day, and Dandy was always there for the counter gank, Spooks has always been there for the counter gank, even turret diving Zahi after a failed gank coming through from him. So he's been the one held down. That's why we see Swiffer with such a healthy CS value. He will get towards this double item spike. You know, the death cap will catapult Oriana into relevance. But Cheese, look, he's trying to take the mid game by the horns like he can. The Mana Moon completed already.
Yeah, Swiffer actually opted to go for this double Doran start here as well. So putting behind his sort of mid game, but making up for that trough that you were talking about by grabbing that extra Doran's item. I do like that. She's just going to happily use as many abilities as possible. Keep that stacking item stacking in the Mana Mune.
So many initiation options available when we're talking about the Shockwave. As you say, at a good AP value, it's not the death cap. Death cap's probably about 5 to 7 minutes away, depending on how the team fights go. 1 minute to Dragon. You have to respect the wombo engage coming through between Spooks and Swiffer. You cannot interrupt the assault and battery, and thus a wonderful ball carrier is Spooks on that Vi.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate that he knocks away members as he heads into the team. But we'll see whether they can sort of still catch them, even if they are going to be hanging around. Of course, they can't use abilities while they're getting knocked back, so it might give them a decent opportunity to get that shockwave happening. Of course, teleports are available by both of our top laners, who neither have flash here as well, so you're not going to see any flash twisted advances in this next fight. But 5,000 gold is the gap by the Chiefs, but double Trinity Force, and we'll see whether these power spikes in items that Immunity have managed to hit with the double magic penetration here for Rumble and these Trinity Forces, see whether that's actually going to be enough to help them out in this next Dragon fight.
It's worth noting the front line for Chiefs have doubled down on magic resist. The Hex Drink was picked up very early. Spook's looking for the steal. He does smite away the blue. He does steal it, but does not have smite available, at least for a few seconds at the moment.
Yeah, this is very aggressive play coming through from the Chiefs. Spooks, just no fear at all, vault breaking right into the enemy team. And there could have been any number of members, minus Rumble, hanging out just in that brush.
But it does open up, and when he didn't have a second sight, Spook's going in.
There's the assault and battery and the shockwave. The 1-2 punch is shown here by the Chiefs. That was beautiful. That was very Fortnite-esque against the immunity lineup, and they might be getting nightmares now.
I'm not even sure they knew that Cheese's flash was down. So close is it to the flash cooldown coming up. But with that mana burst damage, so overtuned is Spooks. Surprised by the damage, even dies with heal available does Cheese. And Chiefs, they're going to pick up this second Dragon.
Yeah, and there would have been nothing he could do as far as that heal was concerned. I have a feeling he probably would have just died anyway. Of course, the dissonance was yet to even come through. That was just so much burst damage. And it all comes down to the fact that this Vi got so far ahead so early.
I mean, it's the pathing of Spooks. Spooks has been wonderful throughout the season. We've talked about his Lee Sin, we've talked about his Rek'Sai. We're going to have to add Vi to that list, and now we're pretty much talking about all the viable junglers. Okay, he hasn't shown the Nidalee, but, you know, there's still time.
Yeah, well, he hasn't needed to here, of course, as well. His Lee Sin has been fantastic this whole season. What he's been known for sort of across the years here as far as his history is concerned, but now adding Vi to the repertoire, looking fantastic is Spooks.
It's almost purely magic damage, at least at this early stage coming through from Immunity, so you can understand the Spirit Visage rush coming out from Swiper. There's so many low cooldown spells on Immunity's lineup that it feels like every auto attack's going to be proccing that passive. You're going to get the Spirit Visage bonus health coming through from the passive from Maokai, so it should be so tanky in the front line. We mentioned the earlier Hex Drinker, cost-effective damage and magic resist coming through that from Spooks. No Aegis just yet, and not going to be looking to build towards an Aegis, so we still can see the potential of AoE magic wombo coming onto the back line, but the front line, good luck getting through it.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Oh my gosh, but so far, I mean, managing to stay 30 CS ahead here in the top lane for Swiper here as well, I mean, that is a difficult matchup just in general as far as, you know, being a tree against a flamethrower. That's never going to work out, ladies and gentlemen. But historically, it's also been difficult for Maokai here in the top side. But of course, Spooks' help has just meant that Swiper can become massive on this Maokai and just push relentlessly, not really mind about getting caught out because he's already at that super tank stage.
And one of the reasons why Rumble's such an excellent matchup against Maokai is because, I mean, look, in terms of the kits, all right, you use the Twisted Vance aggressively and you get burnt down by Rumble. So, of course, he does a lot of Flame Spitter damage in the matchup. But usually you're building the Rod of Ages, you're building the Righteous Glory. You're not itemizing for magic resist, but going this unselfish build, no selfish Rod of Ages stacking time required, not even a Righteous Glory for team fights, going straight for the Spirit Visage. He has magic resist so much earlier in this matchup.
Yeah, unfortunately, Spook's unable to find the Vault Breaker, but there's going to be the ult, but he gets turned around and blown up. That was beautiful play by Immunity. Swiffer gets caught by the binding. There's the ult and just destroys T-Gun. Rosie flashes over, gets the Monsoon down here as well. Uberbro gets destroyed. The Chiefs turn it on its head after a beautiful attempt by Immunity. Spooks, you could just say, was baiting them, right?
But it was looking so good for Immunity. Like you said, they took down Spooks. It looked like it would be great. They had the Soul Shackles running on Swiffer. But what did we say about 2 item power spikes coming through from the Orianna? The Death Cap so overturned in terms of damage, suddenly exploding the Morgana. The shield, of course, double scaling with that AP. You get defensive and offensive scaling from Morgana's AP purchase. It turned it on its head just with one big item purchase. The Death Cap, it changes fights. Suddenly Orianna, by far the team general of this team.
Oh, yeah, and already, Swiffer is sort of the captain of his team, able to put his team on his back often as well, winning on the MVP point, so it sort of speaks for itself. 3-0 and 3 now, though, going towards that Void Staff, and that's going to be when this Shockwave is going to be such a devastating ability for the first time that we've seen it here in the OPL, because it's just sort of been bouncing people around a little bit, but now it's going to be destroying them.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of those 3,000 ELO Shockwaves from Pharrell Lord once upon a time, really taking apart teams. We haven't seen that in the OPL. They've been tickling enemy teams. They've been for crowd control and never for burst damage. But finally, Swiffer, he wanted to bring it in. He's making it work. And Immunity with a mid-game comp, they're already getting outscaled by Chiefs. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, the Equalizer actually coming through here as well. Swiper's getting burnt down, but he's taking no damage here at all. That ultimate ticking down. Finally, the Flame Spitter comes in, and Ryu able to secure that kill, but my gosh, Swiper lasted so long.
Yeah, and the polar opposite side of the map, they're trying to get damage onto the inner turret. Probably going to see the outer turret fall down to Zahi of all people. He's the one that stayed in the top lane. Chiefs, they're going to commit to the inner turret. This is definitely a favorable trade for the Chiefs.
Yeah, outer turret does fall down. Of course, Immunity will take as many advantages as they can get. Turret for turret, and they get a kill on the top side. I mean, theoretically, it is going to go their way, but now that they've lost this blue buff here as well, probably not going to be so great, as Dragon not going to be up for another minute 20. Not sure what the Chiefs are planning on doing here in the river. Probably killing a Scuttle Crab.
I mean, the issue for Immunity, you look down these items, Trinity Force. So double Trinity Force could be the Muraman is transformed, and we've seen Rio, he's opted for the Equalizer-centric item build, picking up the Leandries. This is the mid-game core, but there's so much gold on Chief's side, the 7,000 gold lead, and the late-game scaling advantage completely in their advantage. The fact that with these mid-game items, Immunity don't look like they're confident to take a fight, that's the worry, is they picked for the mid-game, they're losing the mid-game handedly, and the late game, with this blasting one, soon to be a Void Staff coming through from Swiffer, the late game's coming pretty damn soon, Atlas.
Yeah, it's 25 minutes in this game. I mean, Swiffer has close to 270 CS, now with the Void Staff in his back pocket. This is a 3-item spike at 25 minutes from this mid laner. It is getting very, very scary for Team Immunity, as Ahi not even going to find his Wolves. Oh man, can't catch a break. This Lee Sin. Spook's going to be wandering around this ward here as well that has been put down. Nice clearing work going to come through from Immunity. They're looking for a potential fight. If they keep this level of vision control and manage to get a pick here with T-Gun, they could manage to turn things around. But we saw that happen before and it didn't quite work. We'll see whether the Chiefs are going to be able to just brute force their way to this Dragon.
We have to see very good positioning coming through from Immunity. This Shockwave will delete people. They need to stay unclumped. If they clump up, we're going to see fireworks coming through from the Swiffer Orianna ultimate. He's going to need patience. He's going to need to hold it. But if he gets a 3 or 4-man Shockwave, Immunity have absolutely no answer. No Aegis coming through. Void Staff complete. It's going to wreck the fight.
Yeah, Raider actually with that Vampiric Scepter here as well. Oh, actually, Zahi going in, tries to get it. He steals it away. He dies for it, though, as now the Chiefs trying to turn this one around. Uberbro, he's going to take down Rosie as Assault and Battery comes down onto this Corki as well, and he's going to be dead as Cheese forced to flash over that. Vault Breaker was outstanding as Raider's going to get excited, and T-Gun, he has to worry a lot as now he's between every member of the Chiefs, and that must be a horrible feeling.
I feel like T-Gun relived a nightmare there. Sat in front of 4 enemy members. Nothing at all he could do. It's very smart by Swift to hold on to the shockwave right to the end of the fight. Just use it to secure the kill on Cheese. By far the priority member, by far the overtuned member damage-wise on Immunity. And Chiefs, they wiped Immunity on the floor.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And having T-Gun up last here as well just demonstrates how fantastic the Chiefs are at focusing the right targets in the right order.
The target selection is definitely the criteria we're talking about. Chiefs are always on board with that. That's the experience, though, of having a settled roster. They're all very much in tune. They're friends outside the game, and you can see the results of just sticking with that. It's significant. You know, even after they stopped winning in 2014, they didn't look to tweak the roster. They just doubled down on support staff, on just returning to their core strategies, and it's paying off here. Even with the Oceania, we're finally at this point, at least at 27 minutes, I'm making a bold prediction here. Of course, with a 10,000 gold lead, not that bold. It looks like we might actually see the first victorious Oceania, and it's probably no coincidence it's going to come from Chief Swiffer.
Yeah, that's the thing, of course. The first player to play 7 different champions here as well. Actually, no. Him and Cheese. Now both on 7 unique champions.
Which, again, reflects very good on both those players. They have the flexibility. And look, Cheese's Ezreal's been excellent. He's definitely been the standout member for his team, but Zahi's been the one. It's not necessarily the poor performance from Zahi. It's just the timings that he's looked for. He's been counterganked mercilessly by Spooks. Spooks is the one to talk about. It wasn't a coincidence that he was 5-0-0 very early in the game, 100% kill participation out of the first 4 kills. On a Vi, you have to remember, this is on a champion not known for a skirmishing pre-6. I mean, Spooks took this game and completely overturned it on this Vi.
Yeah, and actually going to be building a Frozen Heart on Vi here as well, not going for that Randuin's Omen.
A double Frozen Heart. Of course, Maokai and Vi are going to be at very different parts of the fight, potentially.
Unless it's Iceborne Gauntlet and Randuin's.
Probably not going to be that, but there's always the potential.
Could happen. I mean, she's a decent Sheen user.
And maybe it's just the mana needed, a bit of cooldown reduction. It probably fits. I mean, Glacial Shard's a wonderful item to build. Gives you those tanky stats, but of course, cooldown reduction, very useful offensively and defensively. So no reason not to pick it up. It's at a very nice gold value as well. I mean, the Chiefs are looking good everywhere. Of course, Swiffer at this point has so much AP that the effective health of all these members is massive. Zahi flashes in.
Yeah, he's trying to find something here, but Radiant just going to shoot him as he wanders around doing nothing. True Shot Barrage on a couple of members as Cheese. It's going to run from an excited Radiant as Zahi falls down, and I don't know what immunity we're going for, but I don't think it worked.
Unfortunately for Zahi, that's kind of been the story of his game. Going for something aggressive, going for something decisive, flashing in, and then just it failing. It just hasn't come off for him, whereas Spooks at every turn has been greeted with kills. 17 out of 18 kill participation for the Jungle Vi, and unfortunately for Zahi, this game, it's not a good one for him.
Yeah, it's not quite working out as T-Gun going to try and take down this pink ward. Oh, Darkbinding's going to find Swiper and do absolutely nothing. Brilliant equalizer, though, here in the back line as Radiant and Swiffer get burnt down. Ryu, though, Spooks into the back line. T-Gun gets ulted, and Ryu just dies. My goodness, the damage from the Chiefs as T-Gun taking this minigun to the head. Excited Radiant going to come toe-to-toe now with Uber Bros. Forced to flash away. The follow-up flash from Radiant as he finds the autos. This Jinx is so massive right now. He'll reward himself with some Raptors.
And you're not going to get away from Swiffer just constantly reapplying the dissonance, giving him so much movement speed. The get excited wasn't enough to close the distance. But of course, the W comes through from Oceania, changes everything. Cheese is going to pick up blue buff, but just watching his team kind of fall apart in front of him. 13,000 gold. The Baron wasn't picked up, so that's a significant thing. Even as a 4-man unit, able to keep the Baron away from Chiefs, but you have to feel it's just a matter of time before that changes. We're going to see the replay. The Equalizer does a lot of work. There's no Aegis on this Chiefs lineup. You can see the carries are chunked down very quickly, but the re-engage comes on. The Shockwave's not available, but Radiant, he's like an assassin in the backline doing so much damage. 2 hits, T-Gun. Sorry, 3 hits. My apologies to T-Gun. And the chase continued. Corki couldn't live, and they're straight back at Baron.
Yeah, this is almost like it's another replay, ladies and gentlemen, but the Baron actually now down to about 3,000 health. Look at the 2-man Shockwave there as well. Zahi, doesn't manage to get the steal, and he dies for it anyway. Valiant effort to come down. Super Mega Death Rocket gets Radiant excited as Cheese is going to be the next target. Zap doesn't find him, and the Mystic Shot's going to deter the Chiefs from moving further forward at this push, but you have to think that this could be the end of an inhibitor for immunity.
And you think no one is happier with the move towards the Maokai Orianna comps than Radia. On this hyper carry Jinx, the shield and the movement speed can position so aggressively in fights. No pick champions.
Oh, the flash over Ryu there as well to make sure he doesn't take damage from the Vault Breaker. That was beautiful from Spooks. A little bit unfortunate maybe, but Ryu, it doesn't matter, is just getting destroyed by Radiant. That crit was monstrous. Gets excited out of the Phosphorus Bomb here as well. As Swiper just going to pop his ult and wander casually out of that Dark Binding. The Chiefs take an inhibitor, and they're going to be safe. Oh, T-Gun takes half of his health by two abilities from Swiper.
A little QW for half your health.
Little scary, man. Little scary.
Well, I mean, when you're sitting on 750 AP at 32 minutes, that's a lot of AP, ladies and gentlemen. That's doubling. That's more than 20 AP a minute. So that's a lot of damn AP coming out from Swift. Of course, double scaling, like we said, massive shields coming through. Radiant can run in the front, get the dissonance. The moment that we see a reset, and look, it's coming between the double shield of Jano and Oriana, the extra 80 to supplement the massive amount of damage. Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, Phantom Dancer working towards the last Whisper. Massive is on items. And he can just do whatever he wants because there's so much shielding coming through that he can position anywhere in a fight, and he's deleting people on that Jinx.
It's just ridiculous. Now has Rosie just zooming towards the members of Immunity. The Howling Gale not going to find anyone, but T-Gun gets caught, but doesn't matter. He has the Black Shield and just dies instantly as Uberbro now in so much trouble. Oh my goodness. Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't quite find its mark as he's able to move his character down a little bit as Spooks. Oh, Ryu, I'm sorry that this had to be your first game, my friend, because it hasn't been a great one as the Chiefs just destroying Immunity in that last fight. And this has been a clinic, Papa Smithy.
It's absolutely been a clinic, playing around a hyper carry, playing Oriana as well. Oriana on a 0% win rate. If the Chiefs have anything to do with it, it's going to go up significantly as the Chiefs, they wipe Immunity on the floor. They're going to win this. Look at that shockwave.
Oh my goodness, he dies on the fountain as Radiant goes legendary. The Flame Chomp is on there as well. What a dominating victory by the Chiefs.
750 AP shockwave into a 750 damage AoE crit coming through.
Oh man, Oriana's
Jinx.
the best champion. Why don't more people play her in the OPL?
Well, we've seen plenty of indications that might be a facetious statement coming through from you. But it works for the Chiefs. Ezreal and Cheese played great, but Chiefs blew them away.
Yeah, immortal performance from Swiffer here as well, as we do have a replay to come through, ladies and gentlemen, just to see what happened to Immunity in this last fight.
All right, so we're already 6,000 gold ahead, but we're still very early. It's only 22 minutes in. The significant thing to look at here, you look down those items, this is when Deathcat was just finished by Swiffer. Of course, not even walking through a ward, so the enemy team is unaware of just the stack of AP that he's built in this Oriana. So we'll roll the tape. Coming through. Ryu, he finds a lot of enemies, no fun whatsoever, and Spooks goes so aggressive. This is the first time that he's just been too aggressive. It was a very smart kick from Zahi, and they pick up that first kill, and they see Swiffer, he's eating the bind, they're like, alright, let's go and assassinate him. Very smart, but instant kill comes through with the death cap damage, the shield coming on to reapply. Swiffer lives through this whole fight, and then the rest of the members of Chiefs are there. Radiant already has the Zero and Infinity Edge, and rounds out the fight, but you can see it was so close. If it wasn't the death cap being complete, if it was still just sitting on all the gold and just any this large rod, he might have died instantly to that pick coming through. It would have been 2 picks, could have even been a Baron even that early for Immunity. But the death cap made all the difference.
Yeah, and of course, Rosie there in the backline as well, flashing over the wall, getting that Monsoon, looking brilliant on this Janna. One of his strongest picks. Actually, the first champion for him to play 3 times in a row. I apologize, Rosie. I got my stats wrong. You've only played Leona twice. It's my bad. So admitting it now is something that you've really got to do. But we do have another match coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Immunity are going to be taking on Rich Gang after this, and we'll see whether they can bounce back from that pretty difficult defeat. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 3 minutes.